Hello. Lately, there are a lot of news about Unreal Engine, and the games that are made from this engine have this Unreal look because many developers are using the same assets, mostly from Quixel, Megascans, and it makes sense to use the free and realistic assets, but they don't have any additional features to their materials, and in the end, all the games have the same look, same assets and same vibe. Today I want to talk about how to alter the look of your Megascans, your existing free assets, and to achieve some unique look that will add your storytelling much layers with the LayerCraft. So in the beginning, I want to examine the Megascans. Here we have our this broken wall. This asset comes with the mesh, the textures and the material. When we take a look in the material, we have this setup, this basic setup, and it's using all these attributes to make up this material. First of all, we want to convert our material system to be able to read from the layers. So we change to the material attributes. We make material attributes here. When we connect this is the same material. Nothing changed. But we will add the material attribute layers. After we have our base material, then we will work on building some additional layers. And since all the assets are from Fab, they are using all this master material, so this change will affect every asset. We want to build our system based on our blend masks. So what we want? Let's imagine we want to have some dirt, some effect that is building up from ground up. So let's just, this rock wall. When we insert this layer, it will override on top of it. We don't have any blend asset information. When we add, ground hide lerp, when we use this blend type, and we adjust some values, as you can see, we have now an overwriting layer on top of it based on this mask, and in this mask debug we can view our mask. So we have this gradient, it is object based, so I have this building up from ground up, and now this is just one gradient. What we can do to have an interesting look, we can add our detail masks. Right now in my existing Fab assets, we don't have any information on displacement. I don't have the textures downloaded automatically, so I don't have displacement information, which usually you will like to blend accordingly, but we can work around. I recommend using occlusion most of the cases. It gives you really interesting look. So we have occlusion and we want it to blend from bottom, and we have these existing parameters. When we play, you can see our occlusion map here, and this effect will be on the transition area on the gradient, and when you adjust the gradient area or the offset, it will control where this occlusion effect will happening. So contrast will make this effect this transition area shorter when you increase it. Here, yeah, you can see here is the black part, here is the top white, and when you increase the contrast it will shorten up the area. Negative 0.5 could be nice. So alright, the white one will be our top layer, and we can adjust like this, and we have our attribute mask, which is the name of the detail mask. You can use any kind of attribute to work, and you can play with these. Let's see, let's get out the debug mode, and you can see our rock is building up on top of and we have the occlusion data that is masking our base material. When we invert it, we have this rock layer on the small parts, on the dark parts of the occlusion, and you can play with the values. You know, it is really fun to play. Yes. Okay, I guess it's okay. So since we are using data from the bottom layer, whatever we feed on the layer above will not affect how the blend works, so we can just switch any kind of layer we want, like sidewalk, snow. I will work with the snow later. I know the most general case is some lighting in the moss, and yeah, you can see all these details, and you can play with the UVs and any other layer parameters individually, so you don't have you just work on the layer. So you can have really dense tiling, and since we have this blend methods, there is no repetition, which is quite nice. Alright, now I guess it is okay. Maybe we can a bit more darken value for the mouse, and maybe lower the roughness to make it a bit shinier. And what do you want more? Maybe a snow on top of it. So we search for snow. Again, this is covering all without any blend information. And now we can directional height lerp. Direction is the vertex direction, so when it is set to blue, it is Z looking up, and the faces are looking up, are using this mask. And you will have in the details, since we don't have any displacement data, we can work on again the occlusion. Let's see. Oh yeah, that looking very nice. Maybe we can play with the base mask, which will control the area. And one thing about snow, it's building up, and since we have our masks and working with the layers, when we adjust some deform, in the deform we have vert position offset. If we want to add vert position offset through the layer, it will only affect where the snow will be. So right now this is vertex normal, it will go every direction of the vertex. So when we increase our vert position offset strength, it will grow. And makes it more affectable. So quickly, for the recap, we have our base material and we add moss with the gradient mask on top of it, and we add snow on top of it. Basic setup. And since we built this logic, we can just duplicate our material instance and put all this logic into this new asset. Because our masks are procedural, it will work on any mesh. So let's open this, and we just need to alter the base mask, base textures from this asset, and I will just swap the base master materials textures. It is the normal and the ORRM. And this material, when we assign this, you will instantly see our snow adds up, our moss is growing, but we can adjust some furthermore. So the snow, that's looking okay, but maybe a bit lower to directional amount. Here is the build-up. And the moss is growing, maybe a bit more growth of the moss. So we have this object gradient will be about the height. Can be better. And now when I work with the attribute mask, it will affect the whole system. So we again using the occlusion. So the same setup, but now maybe add one more layer, which can be good to have a graffiti. I have this texture which has alpha information. We can use this as a mask. So what I want to add a master layer and a master blender, and as the texture I want to add this texture, and I don't need any packed or the normal textures, and we want to blend with the opacity. I mean I need to access to the alpha channel, so I can say, alright, use opacity mask, use your texture, no, you use opacity from albedo and use alpha channel. So if I don't have alpha channel, and if the texture has black values to blend, I can also use the opacity black. Since I have alpha channel, I'm setting up my setup like this. Let's try to adjust the tiling, but firstly I want to set the sampler mode clamped, so I don't want any repetition, just single projection. So now, since the UVs are a bit messed up, I will have to work around and find a cool spot. Alright, that was easy. And here is the place. Alright, we can, okay, that's cool. So as the blend method, I have a, since I'm using from the top layer, I don't want to sample again. I can use attributes to use a mask, and I will say, alright, you can look for the opacity. So when we set for the top layer and we say overlay, we will have our graffiti texture projected, but I only want to blend the color information. I don't care about the rest of the attributes coming from top. So I will just say, okay, just overwrite only the base color, and voila, you can see all the normal detail from bottom, and I can make it more better with using our base mask. I can mask out some parts. Let's say we can use our texture. So we are masking with our texture. I know this texture has more details in the green channel. I can increase the tiling very much. Can increase the contrast and the amount. Makes it perfect. So now we have a new look. I think this moss has a really high contrast. Maybe we can lower the contrast of it. -1. Oh yeah, can be better. Alright. Now let's convert all the setup to our new asset. So I will just duplicate this, copy this, and we need to adjust base materials texture. Bum bum bum. So we have the same asset with our additional layer structure. I don't want to have snow here. I can just cancel this. And for the moss, I would like to lower the contrast and make it climb even more. Even lower contrast. And yeah, look at that. Now without moss and with the moss, all these details, very nice. And we have the same graffiti. We can play with its position by the UV logic. Now give some offset and even give some rotation. Yeah, cool. Alright. And maybe this asset have a leak that is coming from top. So add a new layer, add a master layer. Actually I can show this row layer, which will have scalar parameters for each attribute. Make it that kind of color. Alright, we have fairly high specular. Can lower the roughness, give some metallic. Alright, so I want to have a leak. So in the leak I can say, let's see, let's take a look on our mask and what we have here. We have a gradient, a UV gradient. I want to have object gradient since I don't know about anything about the UVs. Yes, so cool. I have this gradient and this texture as a detail, which is, you know, tiling really low on the Y, so it makes it stretching, make a looking like a leak. So let's cancel the debug mode and take a look. So in the details we can increase the detail contrast. We don't have any overwriting on the rough, on the normal, just the roughness, base color, specular, and maybe add overwrite metallic. Why not? So I have this detail, maybe tile a bit more in the X, give a bit more contrast, and control the amount of the texture. Play with the gradient. Higher contrast. So our next asset is done, and we have this rock asset. Let's work on this again. I will just duplicate, add this texture, and add the correct texture set. Alright, now I can just cancel the leak, the gravity, and I will have only the moss. Here we go. We have our moss. We can increase the tiling for. Alright, very nice. Now how we gonna blend? It is maybe ground height lerp, could be. Let's take a look. Our gradient amount. So it looks like it's coming from top. We can invert this. No. Oh yes. Now our moss will be building up, and we want to use occlusion. Alright. As the mask. So we have the moss, but I know I want to have the moss in the details, but I want to cover some different layer on the ground. So I have a forest layer. This forest layer, maybe a bit higher tiling, and let's say I want it to ground up. I will ground higher lerp. And let's play with its parameters. Alright, higher contrast, -1, a bit higher. Alright. As the detail, maybe I don't want to use any detail now. I just have this gradient. Okay, that's cool. And maybe add some snow in a different way. We have this snow. We're gonna add directional height lerp. But we don't have any displacement, so we want to use again the occlusion, or this time maybe normal B, which is perpendicular to the normal information. Maybe show you the result. So normal B is the pixels are facing upwards, so it will cover. I want it to have a build up on the top like this, but in the ground I want to lower it, so I can use additional procedural mask. So we have our directional, we can use a second procedural, and the gradient, the second gradient. Now we have access to use gradient and directional all together. And let's switch it to object gradient. And we will have a control over how this directional mask will be affected. And voila! You know, when you compare these two, this is the original asset, and this is our next asset. So I think this is some cool showcase to show you how powerful is this workflow, and you can use any kind of asset and add your layers and control and manipulate and have a different look on all over. And it's really easy to change easily as a one button. So let's say we want a sand here. Let's see. Yes, we have a sand. You know, lower the brightness. Or we can have a dirt gravel. I don't know what is it. Let's see. Yeah, pretty nice. Let's play with the mask. We lower the contrast, and yeah, voila. So this was, let's cancel all these. So this is the original asset, and now we have this altered version. And you can really add any kind of layer instance as you want. Maybe a cracked concrete. There you go. Something different. And it's really nice to able to use this mask of the occlusion and all these details. Let's lower the brightness. Maybe a damaged floor. Maybe a muddy stone. Now play with the amount. Cool. So I guess that's enough for the video. I hope you find this exotic and exciting, and I trust this process too much. Hope you like it, and see you on the next tutorial.